So the Champions League is back. Chelsea are also back in the Champions League. And with that in mind, I was very glad to be a guest on the Hooligan Soccer podcast, their massive preview for the first week of the Champions League 25-26, giving our thoughts, feelings and predictions ahead of some of the biggest ties. So very glad that they allowed me to publish the show on my YouTube channel, on my podcast feed, so you can get some extra Champions League content this week. I will have my specific Bayern preview and team selector out a little bit later today on Tuesday afternoon/evening. But for now, I hope you enjoy this. Go and check out the work of Hooligan Soccer, where I'm also producing regular articles about Chelsea. Let's get to the pod right now.
Hello. Hooligan Soccer podcast coming at you with myself, Gary Striker, with the Hooligan, as always, the Fingers, and a very special guest, Daniel Childs from SonOfChelsea and the Chelsea Echo. Gentlemen, it is the first game week of the new season and the Champions League season as well. So this is a Champions League special coming on Monday morning. And wow, it's good to be back. We're through the international break, through that shitstorm of whatever the hell that was and that distraction. Premier League weekend, it was good and some some bad results depending on which side of the fence you're sitting on. And now finally the Champions League is back. So
hey, let's
get into it.
We all drew. So let's at least acknowledge the fact that all of the teams that we support here drew over the weekend and are still undefeated. So
exactly. And it is worth noting, obviously, Daniel, obviously, welcome for being a guest. Obviously, Son of Chelsea and the Chelsea Echo, and obviously Hooligan, you are outnumbered with 2 Chelsea fans to 1 Crystal Palace fan as well. So we'll try and go easy on you make it easy.
Despite being down a man, I will absolutely 100% hold my own against Chelsea. So here we go.
Wonderful. Daniel, how are you? Are you excited for the Champions League to be kicking off again? And it's been a few years, obviously, from the Chelsea perspective, right?
It certainly feels like returning home and where Chelsea should be. I feel like that's kind of the overriding feeling, especially when you've got a game of this kind of historical significance and so much narrative thrown into it. So yeah, it's what Chelsea and as fans we all kind of craved and were interested in, so obsessed with last season, was you have to get back in the Champions League, you have to get back in the Champions League. And it's not just about being in the Champions League, it's about competing in it. So I also feel there is that new kind of fresh feeling about it because of the change internally at the club, but externally because of the new league phase. Like this is a new adventure for Chelsea with this new format. So it's kind of a bit unexpected, and I think that's what makes it exciting, a little bit dangerous, and yeah, we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it is. I think definitely, Hooligan and I were discussing as we went through last season as well. We were talking about how just the new format, normally what we found is like the governing bodies, whether it's FIFA, UEFA, whoever it is, have this wonderful propensity to sort of really fuck it up and make it worse just to try and get some more sort of dollars out of it and get some more cash out of it. Now, they have done obviously what they've done to get some more dollars and cash out of it. There's no denying that. However, I think the general consensus is this new format is a hell of a lot better than the group phases as well. Was that?
Yeah, we were. I agree with you, Gary. We were. I was initially a little skeptical, but over time I was like, okay, this is all right. Yeah, you say fuck it up. I use tinker. It's the same verb, but Daniel, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I was sort of looking at obviously from afar, because obviously we were involved in a more important competition last year, the Conference League. And
where we are this year, so yay. Maybe we'll follow in your footsteps.
It's a great. Listen, you're gonna love Thursday nights. You're gonna love them. They're amazing. But I watching it from a distance, I found it quite intriguing that the format itself. And when listen, we only have 1 year evidence, but when you look at PSG in the league phase and how bad they were, it kind of does tell you that you don't have to be great in this period of the season in this new Champions League format. You can take a few blows. I think they lost 3 games in their 8 games last year, and I don't think anyone would have felt that they would go on to be what they were post-Christmas. I guess you could argue in the old format that kind of happened a few times because January transfers, a change in manager, that could still naturally happen. But it did intrigue me that with this format, I think it's more kind of noticeable if a team is getting knocks, and kind of you early on in the season, maybe people will be going for the likes of maybe Arsenal and Liverpool. And then later on in the year, once you hit those knockouts, PSG very much turned it on and we're a different team by the time we hit spring.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, we were saying as well, I think that they looking at the stats, if it was done, if the same results were in the group phases, they would not have got out of the group phases. I don't think they would have made it, depending on who they were with, and they wouldn't have gone on. So it certainly made it a lot more interesting as well. That's for sure. Super. Anyway, all right, guys. So what we're going to do, new format, because this game week 1 is a special sort of exception to the rule where we're actually going to have a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday game as well. Right. You can see what's happening as well. They're trial ballooning this. You can see they're testing this to see if the engagement, the ratings are all there as well. And you could probably see this coming next year as well. And all of a sudden, the Champions League has gone from where it used to be I remember just on a Tuesday night to a Tuesday and a Wednesday. It's going to be on a Thursday, and they're going to shake it up. So what we're going to do
and the
is
game times also reflect that, because they've got there are 2 fixtures on the early slot, and there are 4 fixtures on the late slot. So they are absolutely spreading this out across all the platforms, whether that be a broadcaster, if you're in the United States streaming on Paramount Plus. You're going to see the opportunity to watch as many games as your eyeballs can take. And with Paramount Plus, they do also have the multi-game feature, which allows you to put all 4 games up at once. Yeah, which is kind of cool.
It is cool.
But it can also be extraordinarily. It can be extraordinarily schizophrenic at the same time.
Well, that's true. And the other downside as well, and you also have to put up and listen to Nico Cantor as well, who's sort of like Daniel. I don't know if you get Paramount Plus or you can stream it there as well. But yeah, I'm not the hugest fan of Nico Cantor, I have to say, in terms of his running of that Golazo show that they have on CBS. Paramount Plus.
Don't even pay attention to that. I swear, I don't even pay attention to that. I'm listening to other things and not even bothering. So, but
it's probably true. But also as well this year as well, DAZN have got the Spanish rights as well for it. So if you'd rather listen to it in Spanish, you can also
have to give that a listen.
But
that'd be fun.
DAZN as well. So yeah, that'll be there. Yeah. Different experience for you, Daniel, obviously versus that. Also, the other thing as well is 11:45 Texas time kickoff. I'm seeing for that Athletic Bilbao Arsenal game. So for you in California, you're going to get 9:45 in the morning games, correct, which is just wonderful, right? You're just basically all day soccer, all day football, all day long, right?
I'll be moving off of coffee. I'll be off of coffee by then, but it still be way too early for beer. So I'll be in my in between water phase. Yes.
Okay. All right. So tea is normally a good sort of on ramp as well to the alcohol, but we'll get there. Okay. So we're going to break down a couple of games on Tuesday, interesting games Wednesday and Thursday. So let's get into it. All right. So on Tuesday, we've got the early game. There's Athletic Club against Arsenal, and then Real against Marseille that we're going to be covering. Daniel, as you're the guest, you can go first. Arsenal, obviously, they had big hopes, big aspirations for this. Declan Rice banging them in, if you remember, against Real Madrid, and sort of scoring some pretty screamer free kicks. And that was kind of my only memory of Arsenal in the Champions League last season. But what is your take on this one? And apologies as a Chelsea fan having to sort of talk about Arsenal. I'm sure it will be loving and balanced and objective, of course.
As always, yeah, especially their great Champions League pedigree. I feel that Arsenal are probably in a great place to start off strong. I mean, if you've watched them in the Premier League so far, of course, there was a lot of criticism that came for the Liverpool game, but in general, and they handled Forest very kind of clinically. And I also think the difference you got to factor in that probably psychologically, although the way it ended against PSG would have been quite harmful and was really the end to their season because there was no title race. Probably the benefit of beating PSG in the early phase of the competition, but also, of course, as you mentioned, the Real Madrid game was kind of the first time Arsenal, it felt like in one of those big occasions, had kind of toppled a European heavyweight, because it was kind of the joke under Arsene Wenger. They'd hit the knockout stage, and the moment they play anyone half decent, it's game over effectively, and we'll see you next year. Now you feel like with this Arsenal team, there is a bit more about them. I think what will benefit them this year is a better sense of depth within the squad. They've signed Noni Madueke, Martin Zubimendi obviously scored a brilliant goal at the weekend. There's a real sign that, and with Eberechi Eze arriving in the Champions League, a player who should be playing in the Champions League, there is definitely more about this Arsenal team that probably can mean they can balance out the Champions League and Premier League dynamic a bit more. So you've got to put them down. I think they made the quarterfinal in 24. They made the semi-final last year. I feel like they've got to be at least a team that you think are going to go pretty far in this competition if everything goes to plan for them.
Yeah. Hooligan, seeing your beloved Eze now obviously in Arsenal colours and in the Champions League.
Listen, it was inevitable he was going to go. We all knew it. I have no anger much on that move. Seeing him in an Arsenal shirt, It stings it stings a little. Honestly, if he had gone to any London club, it would have felt the same. I agree with Daniel. They're stronger. They have better depth. And even without Odegaard and Saka in this game against Bilbao, I don't think it's going to be a problem for them one bit. They should be able to move through. Arsenal being Arsenal, they will make it dramatic when they don't have to. That seems to be their forte. But I see a fairly easy victory for them.
So no, I think the one thing I am looking for to Athletic Bilbao, because they have that Nico Williams, don't they? That sort of like highly rated sort of Spanish guy that I know Real and Barcelona are sort of falling over themselves to try and get. But he seems to have stayed loyal, and I think he signed a contract extension, and he's going to stay where he is. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs. Daniel, seeing Madueke in an Arsenal shirt, I watched the Arsenal game this weekend, and again, classic Madueke. Looks amazing, dribbling, wonderful, gets into the position. He just seems to sort of either make the wrong decision or hold the ball too long, and just that final sort of ball is just, for me, he showed potential, but really frustrating. Do you sort of have the similar opinion, or sort of is it, are you, because I'm quite glad in a way that Madueke is gone and left Chelsea and going to Arsenal. I hope he doesn't sort of, Arteta sort of fixes him. I don't know, what's your take on that?
I really like Noni as a player. I think he had a much better season last year, and I do think there is a lot there to work with, and it's kind of been beneficial to him that Saka got injured so early, because it's given him a platform to play. Because I think the overall analysis when the move was initially made was, well, mate, you're not going to play in your best position if Saka, you are the understudy. You are waiting in the wings, but effectively to come off the bench. He's now got an opportunity. It's whether he can really develop and make that position his own. I think the problem will still inevitably always be, once Saka is fit, he comes back into the team. I think the thing for Noni would be maybe developing his game to play off the left. But now they've got Eze. You feel like Eze is going to, if Eze is as good as he was at Palace, you think he'll nail down that position. So yeah, I like Noni. I don't think his performance on Saturday was, some of the analysis I saw post-game, it's like suddenly people have realised, I was like, did anyone not watch Chelsea last season and have never watched this guy before?
Exactly the same.
Yeah, so I think it's a big opportunity for him, and he's definitely talented. He really is. And I think that, it's one of those transfers that can work out for all parties, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, guys, I'm going to press you for a quick score prediction as well. So, Daniel, Athletic Bilbao against Arsenal. What do you think the score will be?
I'll go 3-1 Arsenal.
Oh, man, you're stealing my thunder. You Chelsea people, every time. Going in. No, I'm also 3-1.
You're going to go 3-1. Chelsea. Okay, yeah, I think 3-1 Arsenal. Yeah.
No, Arsenal. Derp.
Chelsea, we're getting there, yeah. Okay, and then the other game on Tuesday that we have is Real Madrid against Marseille. This one, I mean, these are the kind of, it's at the Bernabeu. I don't know, these kind of things. You kind of, it's sort of like classic Real Madrid. They'll turn up, they'll probably grind out sort of 2-3-0 is my feeling. I don't know. What do you guys think? Daniel, what's your take on this one?
I mean, it's weird because Real Madrid obviously were not at their best last year in the Champions League, and even in the league phase, they had a few shaky performances, if I remember, quite early on. So maybe if you're Marseille, yeah, sure, it's probably the worst opening night. You're like, really, this is what you've given us. But maybe it's the best time to play them. There still is also a feeling with this Real Madrid team that they kind of are. They're adjusting to a new set of players. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Dean Huijsen coming in as well from the Premier League, and maybe there is still an adjustment period for that group under Xabi Alonso, and how that's going to work and how that's going to form itself. So I still suspect Real Madrid will win pretty comfortably. You've got to say that with the talent they have, but it may not be as convincing because there's still maybe some question marks over their structure.
Hooligan, what's your take on this?
I think that's a very thoughtful analysis. I agree with it 100%, but I also think Real is going to just storm out of the gates and absolutely tromp all over Marseille. I think it's going to be a very long night from the visitors from France. I'm going to go with a 4-0 Real win.
Oh wow!
But I do think Real will trip at some point in this Champions League. There will be stumbles. I just don't think it's going to be tonight.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be on this one.
Tomorrow night. Yeah, I agree.
Tomorrow
And
night,
it isn't, it'll be interesting to see how Alonso kind of like deploys his system. We saw them in the Club World Cup, and again, so he's still sort of getting his fingerprints over it. I know it'll be interesting to see whether Trent starts or not, or whether he sort of goes and plays him. That will be an interesting one as well. Any team that has an Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., and I think there's an opportunity for Rodrigo as well to find his way back in. I think that's just so much firepower up front. It really, really is. So, yeah. Okay, Hooligan, you've gone 4-0 Real Marseille. Daniel, can I press you for a score prediction?
I'll go 3-0.
Oh, wow.
I think it'll be. I think it'll be one of those where maybe it looks like maybe the game is up for grabs, and then in the second half, I could see Mbappe running away, Vinicius running around the counter and scoring a couple goals.
Yeah, they'll do it. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, so those are the big matches on Tuesday to look out for. Wednesday, the big one, obviously. Bayern Munich in Munich against the beloved Chelsea, beloved and wonderful Chelsea. Obviously, this is famous, obviously, sort of turf where obviously that Champions League win came through with Drogba scoring that last minute, that penalty, and obviously the history as well. It's always been, I always remember these Chelsea Bayern games as being really entertaining and really good matchups. Wasn't that was the one where Lampard scored that really interesting sort of flick, if you remember those years ago? I think it was over Oliver Kahn as well. So the only interesting thing for me is what I don't know, and Daniel, maybe you can help clear this up if you know, is Nicholas Jackson eligible to play for Bayern now that he's still on loan from Chelsea? And if that will be a really interesting lineup if that is the case. I don't know. Do you have any insights on that one?
I believe he can. Unless the rule has changed. If you remember years and years ago, Chelsea were
Courtois,
this situation, right? Courtois, right, in the Champions League semi-final. So I think there is a slight difference in the Champions League. I mean, Philip Coutinho, if I remember rightly, playing against Barcelona in a semi-final and doing quite well. So I think, he can play. It's whether he does. I mean, I can't believe it's anything other than off the bench. Given who will play, it's a bit like the Madueke situation, right? Like if Harry Kane is fit, Harry Kane's going to play. Obviously, narratively, it's kind of skipped my mind that's a narrative part of this game, because I think historically, I think most Chelsea fans are going to look towards back to 2012 really, and what that stadium means for Chelsea, in so many ways. But obviously, you could see a scenario where he comes on at like 70 minutes and maybe the worst happens. But it's I think it's a long-winded way of answering your question. I think he absolutely can play.
Yeah, I can. And so, because up front, they'll have Olise. Musiala's out, of course, because he had that nasty ankle injury in the Club World Cup as well. Kane, obviously, he's going to play, but you can see them bringing on as a superstar. But look, he's quick, he's strong. It's just, again, similar to Madueke, just that final ball, that final touch would let him down a lot. It was a little bit frustrating at times to watch, but yeah. Okay, Hooligan, and your thoughts on this one? I'm obviously you're going to be screaming for Bayern Munich to sort of go and smash Chelsea, I'm assuming. That's kind of where you're going to come from as a...
To be perfectly fair, I really don't care how it comes out. No. I don't have a tremendous amount of love for Bayern Munich either. So these are two teams that I don't support. But I do think it's going to be one hell of a match. When you look at teams with this much firepower, this much talent, and creativity, you just want to see an absolutely thrilling match. I think it's going to happen. I do think Jackson, you're right, he's pacey, but he's also, boy, does he have a point to prove. He's going to be coming on there. The chips on his shoulder are so big, they're like shoulder pads in American football. I mean, you're not going to be able to get anything on this guy. He's got so much riding on it. I just want a good game, and I think it's going to deliver. I think it's going to absolutely deliver. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited.
I fear for this one. I don't think Chelsea are going to get a result here. I think this is actually going to go to Bayern Munich, to be honest. I think they're going to get the results. We'll see. Chelsea seem to have been, so far this season, been really good at coming back into it when they haven't scored first, and sort of getting back into it, but not being able to hold on. They still do look a little bit shaky defensively. Brentford on the weekend as well. That sort of last minute letting goal was evidence of that. Hooligan, what do you think is going to press you for a score prediction here? What do you think?
2-2 draw.
I think that will be a result for Chelsea if they do get out with 2-2. Daniel, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2 as well. I just look at this Bayern team and it feels a little bit lopsided to me. You look at Luis Diaz, Serge Gnabry, Michael Olise, who's a superb footballer, Harry Kane, Joshua Kimmich. But then I look at defense, and I've never been a fan of Upamecano. I just never have. I've never been convinced by him. I think he makes rash decisions under pressure. I think he can be caught out. Tar being a good defender for Leverkusen, but doesn't strike me as the sort of player who is going to be very happy if he's got players running in behind him, like any defender. And I think if you're a Chelsea fan, the thing that you're going to be looking at for this game is PSG, the PSG performance and the tactical performance. So that's my hope. And Maresca made a bunch of changes at the weekend, which I assume was in preparation for this game.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. I forgot about, of course, they also signed Luis Diaz from Liverpool as well. They've got, that's a lot of firepower they have up front.
So much there. Almost too much. Almost too much.
Well, as Daniel says, the balance, right? I mean, but still, any team that has Manuel Neuer in goal as well, he is a fantastic goalkeeper as well. So he's an absolute beast. It really is.
He's not as sharp as he used to be, though.
This is true.
He's much more porous than he used to be. Used to be like with the Neuer in goal, you could be like assured of shutouts.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah. And then the other game that we have on Wednesday, this is going to be a good one as well. You have Liverpool against Atletico Madrid. So Diego Simeone bringing the circus to Anfield and to the Liverpool side. Liverpool. Hooligan, what's your take on this one? This is going to be a spicy matchup for sure.
It will be a spicy matchup, and at least I think Atletico's coming in off a little bit of a high note. They beat Villarreal over the weekend, which was a big win for them, and so they're coming in hot. And let's just put our cards on the table. Liverpool have won 4 games, and none of them have looked convincing. Okay, just not. There has been way too many last-minute gasp saves, calls, whatever it is. Burnley played the worst, most cynical game of soccer football I have ever seen. It was a horrible just display of low block and prey. But Liverpool couldn't get through it. It took a penalty, which I'll rightly call penalty, but it took that to break the seal. I could see Atletico taking a slightly similar approach. I could see Simeone watching all their games going, okay, I think I've got it. And his counter is going to be a hell of a lot stronger than anything that Burnley can throw. And that has that ability to carve through that somewhat leaky defense on the Liverpool side. So I think it's going to be a really fascinating game to watch, especially for Liverpool fans who are going to be probably going into this a little nervous.
Okay, and then a scoreline prediction, do you think? It sounds like you've got Atletico to sort of win this one, or Liverpool do?
No, I actually don't have Atletico win this one because, like I said, but Liverpool win. When it comes to it at the end of the day, something will happen, and it will happen late. Something will happen, and Liverpool will walk away 2-1.
Interesting, 2-1. Interesting as well, Isak didn't even feature on the weekend as well, and they broke the British transfer record for that and went through all the sort of, trouble to get him out of Newcastle and Prime away there and didn't even start. Maybe Slot had one eye on this fixture as well, particularly. That could have been why. Daniel, what is your take on what is your take on this Atletico Liverpool game?
I just want the greatest form of shithouse from Simeone as possible. I think this is what makes him live. Like these are the sort of occasions that get him out of bed in the morning. That make him who he is. I'm gonna go 0-0. I think he's gonna do a Burnley, and he enjoyed pissing off that crowd once before, and it's gonna be really unenjoyable to watch. But he's going to love it, and that makes me happy.
Is that our new thing? That we call it now? Doing a Burnley? I love it. I think that's absolute hashtag doing a Burnley. It's got to be, yeah. Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. No, that's more doing a Wrexham right there, but as opposed to doing a Burnley. So
it is like Liverpool going forward. Yeah, they've got a lot of firepower now, even with Isak in as well. I'd have to say Ekitike does look very good. I really like the look of Ekitike. Fantastic striker. It'll be interesting to see how they switch in Isak as well. Although I will say, like Florian Wirtz now, 4 games in, yet to be impressed by him. Maybe he needs a little bit longer, but he does not look as comfortable and as set as Ekitike, and we'll find out about Isak as well, that's for sure. Wonderful. Okay, so you've gone with a 0-0. And then the final game that we're going to cover on the Wednesday is PSG, second team, a team who came runners-up in the Club World Cup against a very, very revitalized Atalanta. Again, this is where, again, it strikes me as PSG maybe will start this one a little bit slow, start the Champions League again a bit slower, and then get into their rhythm and their stride towards the end of the season, and then just go and dominate. Obviously, defending champions here as well. Daniel, I'll let you take this one first. What are your thoughts here on PSG versus Atalanta?
I think they've got overwhelming quality that'll probably mean that they'll win this game. But I think the big question mark, the longer this tournament goes on, will be not having Donnarumma, who made such a big difference in this competition. And despite all the chatter around his suitability to Luis Enrique's system, I think anyone who watched PSG, yes, they played outstanding football. Yes, their system was immaculate. Yes, some of the individuals like Dembele were exceptional. But they also had a top keeper. And I just wonder whether that is going to be the thing that defines them later. I think right now they've started the season really well. And I like what Atalanta do. I think they're a quality team, especially in the Champions League. But I can't see anything other than a comfortable win. So I think it'll probably be like 3 or 4-1 to PSG.
It's nice, yeah. Hooligan?
This is my first upset call, actually. I'm going to go with Atalanta. I'm going to go with Atalanta for it will be a draw. But I think Atalanta is going to hold off the mighty PSG in this one. I think it's going to end up being a 1-1. It's going to be a 1-1 draw. Atalanta is going to score on that counter that they do so well. They're going to just frustrate the hell out of PSG, which for Atalanta a draw is a victory. So we're going to go with that. But because I think anybody who has any sense, like Mr. Childs over there, is going to be going with PSG. I'm going to take a slightly contrarian view on that one.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think the thing that I think I agree with you is I was really surprised about Donnarumma. He is an incredible goalkeeper, and even just looking at some of the saves he pulled off against Manchester United yesterday, he is a fantastic goalkeeper. You can't deny that. What is interesting as well is I think if you're the Atalanta manager, you're going to be looking at that Club World Cup final and just saying that's how you get at them. Basically, you just go and attack that right wing back. Obviously, man mark Hakimi as well and block him as well, and again, it'll be interesting to see who they replace and how that keeper sort of fares. And to your point, Daniel, I know they've got off to a good start in Ligue 1, but it's Ligue 1, right? There's no one else really to compete with them as well. So it's they do save themselves for this. And again, I think they can be got at, whether they'll sort of be able to sort of convey that. But I think PSG will probably comfortably win this. But that should be an interesting sort of lineup, that's for sure. Okay, and then moving through to Thursday's fixtures, Manchester City against Napoli. This is another good one. De Bruyne coming home, back to obviously getting sold and then obviously coming back up against his own team. I don't think he left with any animosity, so I don't think he's got a point to prove in a way, but I think he'll definitely sort of, be dangerous. And I saw you've got McTominay, De Bruyne, and then Rasmus Højlund as well. So you've got 3 ex-Manchester players now coming back to Manchester to go and play as well. So I think this will be an interesting lineup. And Napoli, I mean, they didn't win. Inter ended up winning Serie A last season. So
no, they did. Napoli.
Napoli won.
No,
Napoli won it? I'm sorry.
Won.
Oh, Napoli. That's it. Inter messed up and then got it. Sorry, you're absolutely right. So
Inter stumbled. Napoli took
Inter
it.
stumbled. Yeah. Getting confused. You're absolutely right. Thank you for correcting that.
Thank you. Thanks to McTominay's. Thanks to some of McTominay's super heroics in that final game.
Player of the season as well, didn't he? Won it all. And he's now. I think
he was amazing.
He's up there with Maradona in terms of sort of Roman, in terms of legend in Naples, isn't he? He's absolutely part of it. So, what do we think here? What's the thinking here, Daniel? Any thoughts on this game?
Man City, it's kind of hard to know what you're going to get from Man City at the moment from game to game. I think there was a period of time when under Pep Guardiola, you kind of would sit down for a City game and you'd be pretty confident about 80-85%. This is what we're going to get. Maybe they'll get shocked, but now I'm not entirely sure. And it's very hard to gauge the Man United tax of it all following, Sunday. How, much was that, United sort of collapsing or how good City were. And Napoli's an interesting one. I think it's more that Antonio Conte has never been great in Europe. He's a very good domestic coach in the sense that he knows how to win league titles, but balancing the Champions League and the league, whether that's the Premier League or Serie A, it's never been his strong suit, or at least it never looks quite as impactful. I think the shame of it is that, these two games on Thursday time-wise kick off at the same time, because I think you probably will have to do a bit of split screening on this one. But because it's at City, I think I favour City to get the job done here. But, you look at some of the threats that Napoli have and the way they've constructed that team, I don't think it will be an easy one at all. I think this will be a very close one between both teams. So I think, City, maybe 2-1, a late Haaland header wins it. But I think it will be a decent night for Napoli, performance-wise.
Haaland's looking really, really ruthless, isn't he? He's looking in fine form as well. I know he scored 5 from Norway in the international break.
If Haaland gets back into form, if he starts getting a nose for goal again, oh yeah, everybody's in trouble. That goes up against City. My heart wants Napoli to win, but my head says that's not going to happen again, because if this was at Napoli, I'd be 100% behind that sky blue side. But it's not. It's in Manchester. I am going to go with the other sky blue side. I am going to say that City's going to do it. I think it's going to be an even tighter affair with only a 1-0 scoreline. But I think it's going to be fascinating from a crowd perspective. I think the receptions that everybody's going to get, I think De Bruyne will be warmly received. I don't think you're going to be, callous or mean towards him unless he scores. But even then, I know that De Bruyne is going to have enough class to not celebrate.
Yeah. I don't think he'll score. I think I can just see some sort of beautiful whipped ball in as well. That's just going to get that, Højlund.
Oh, he could. He could assist, right?
Yeah.
But But I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going by 1-0, but I would love to see a much more high scoring affair personally.
That's fair. No, I think that's fair. That's a good shout. And then finally, Newcastle against Barcelona. This is an interesting one as well. Newcastle, again, I do wonder if they'll have a sort of a bit of a wobble after sort of the incredible season that they had last season as well. This is now this is their second time in the Champions League in 3 seasons as well. So they've been able to sort of put a bit of a run together. Of course, they've replaced Isak with that very sort of tall German who did score on the weekend. Forgive me, his name is eluding me. I haven't committed it to memory yet. But
Nick
he did score.
Woltemade,
there we go. Okay, thank you for that, Hooligan. And then you got Barcelona.
You can also just call him the 2-meter Messi. That's apparently how he refers to himself.
As himself,
which is or somebody referred to him that way. And I was like, wow, that is not a moniker that I would choose to either to have on myself or appreciate anyone giving me.
I've always noticed with those monikers, when you always get referred to sort of the other version of another player, it's never a good thing. You want to kind of carve out your own moniker.
You never want to be the Timo version of something.
No, exactly. Exactly, yeah. So I remember when Spurs signed Paulinho, they're like, he's Frank Lampard, but he can head. And it's like, no, he's not. No, it's not. It's a little bit ridiculous. But maybe he's Vote Weghorst 2.0. I don't know, perhaps. Maybe just the German.
It's like handing somebody, it's handing someone a bouquet of flowers and then going in with a hook. You're like, there you go. Wham.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So we got Newcastle against Barcelona. Of course, Rashford in Barcelona. Apparently, I haven't been following huge amounts, but he hasn't got much game time. I don't know if he scored any goals or how he's forming. I don't know why he would have gone there, considering they've got obviously that lethal front three of sort of, experience, prime, and youth in terms of Yamal and Rafinha and Lewandowski. But what do we think here, Daniel? What's you want to see Barcelona completely run through Newcastle in St James's Park here, or do you think there's going to something else happen here?
It's that historically, you look at a couple of years ago when Newcastle were last in the Champions League, and obviously the momentum of St James's Park, the atmosphere of St James's Park kind of pulled Newcastle through some of those early games, and they absolutely battered PSG in one of their earliest games. And you kind of see that St James's Park crowd. I mean, even a few weeks ago against Liverpool, down to 10 men, and they were dragging that team with them. So I do think, unlike, we were talking about the Napoli crowd, right? There are crowds in Europe that do make, I think, a tangible difference on the game, no matter how good the opposition is. I think if you're Barcelona, it's, you got to get that first goal. If you can ride the wave, it's like traditional away performance, right? Especially Europe. I think if it's one of those where I think if Newcastle are going to have a good night, they have to score first, but I think they have to score early. They have to, very much go at Barcelona and try and see if there's any vulnerability. I think if that doesn't happen, I do start to feel that, Yamal gets on the ball, Rafinha gets on the ball, Lewandowski, obviously, it feels like we'll keep scoring forever. It's a game that I just think at the current point, I'm not as confident about this Newcastle side as I was a couple of years ago. there seems to be a lot of disruption. So I feel like I've got to go over Barcelona win, and I think it will end up being 2-0 Barcelona. And I agree with you that I think Newcastle really struggle handling the Premier League and Champions League. So I'm not entirely sure how they're going to cope in this new format.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah. Hooligan, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I'm going to go right out. Barcelona's going to win 4-2. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. I do agree that St. James Park is, and St. James's atmosphere will get those 2 goals for Newcastle. They will move them forward. But I do think Barcelona is going to come back. And my other hot take is Dan Burn will concede a penalty. He will trip either Yamal or he will trip Rafinha in the box, and he will concede a penalty. That's my hot take of the day on this one.
Yeah. And you think Yamal is going to score, right? I mean, this wonder kid.
I don't
special.
know
it's
who
scores.
That's moot point. But one of those 2 will likely get tripped by him in the box. That's where I just feel it.
Or Dan Burn scores. I think it would be like proper, going against the grain of like intellectual football. If Dan Burn heads it in the first 10 minutes. Like he did in the League Cup final. Sure. I mean, I just think that would be in some ways there would be some hilarity in that. But yeah, it's one of those grounds that I think that's the only way I can see Newcastle getting through in the Champions League. They have to win these home games, but unfortunately, one of them is against Barcelona.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's I mean, the only shame is not the shame. It's a good thing for us as the fans as well, because it's the first one of obviously sort of the first sort of Champions League. But like what is interesting now about the way this sort of format has been shaken up is these could all quite easily be these games that we covered, be knockout phase Champions League games as well, instead of the old format as well. So they've done UEFA have done a really good job in sort of restructuring it for sure. So yeah, wonderful. Well, gentlemen, that takes us up on time as well. Daniel, do you want to just give everyone a quick shout out and just a quick plug of where they can find more of your writings, videos, content, all those kind of things, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to be on to preview the Champions League. So Son of Chelsea, just search Son of Chelsea, whether that's at Son of Chelsea on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok. You can follow the show on all your favorite podcast providers. I'm on Substack and also now writing articles for Hooligan throughout the course of the season. So you can find my work there. But I'd say just as a hub, I'd say Son of Chelsea is kind of, and particularly the YouTube and podcast is kind of the main piece of content.
Beautiful. Thanks for that. And as always, for us, of course, Hooligan-Soccer, again, the analytics show that every week there are more and more people coming in and listening. It's amazing that we do get that. So please feel free to reach out, contact us, hooligan-soccer.com. Hooligan's musings and ramblings will be there as well. And of course, now, new contributor Daniel as well, which there was a good article last week about the striker situation at Chelsea now that Delap's injured. So go and read it there. Cool. In that case, gentlemen, thank you very much. More football, more soccer. It's endless. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. And I just hope the international break doesn't come too soon, because there's a lot of games together as well. Super. All right, guys. Thank you very much.